but we are comfortable there. When we don't have strong ideas of this is what we should be doing, and this is where we should be going, we tend to allow other people to dictate what our life should look like. Because when we're in comfort and when we've not been proactive in defining some of those things, people, whatever the loudest voices in the room, will kind of determine where your boundaries are if you have not set your own boundaries. So we are in the workplace and your boss comes and asks you again, hey, I'm going to need you to do the evening. I know it's not really part of your job role, but I need you to stay late and do this. And it happens again and again. And why does your boss come to you? Well, it's because you're the person who never says no. You're the person who goes, but deep down you're frustrated. Deep down, it's like, I always have to do this. And we find that in our comfort zone, we end up carrying stuff that we're not supposed to carry. Or maybe you're living at home and your parents are like, no, you're going to do it like this. And I want you to go here and you're going to study this and you're going to make this decision. And on the inside, you just think, I just know that's not what I'm supposed to do. But you're in an environment where it's the path of least resistance. And you think, okay. I'm going to keep the peace. I'm going to choose for comfort. I'm going to choose the path of least resistance. Why? Because I'm afraid to say no. See, friends, the life of the Christian is about understanding what are the things that God has called me to do? What are the things that are in my purpose? Because I can promise you this, that unless you begin to say no to the things that are outside of your grace zone, you are going to experience the wrong sort of stress in your life. And you will experience frustration and resentment. And over time, those things will become embedded in your soul. They will become embedded in your mind. And no amount of prayer is going to fix a situation that you need to walk out of. The Israelites still needed to leave Egypt. They still had to get up. They still had to decide, I am going somewhere. They couldn't stay and pray their way out of the situation. They had to take themselves out. And this is what we do when we create boundaries. We say yes to the things that God is calling us to do. And we say no to the things that are not. So please understand, I'm not saying just if anything's difficult, say no to it. So that's sometimes what our world says. So, I just need to, just everything's difficult. No. Paul says here, there are times you're going to go without, but there will be a grace. And so the comfort, we need to be in our grace zone, but not our comfort zone. So this is what we need to talk to God. We need to pray. We need to get godly input. We need to have friends around us who hear from God. We need to be part of church community, because we're going to find that we may not know what is my grace zone, what is my comfort zone. But in the grace zone is where we come alive. In the grace zone is where we feel fulfilled. In the grace zone is just where everything that is good for yourself, good for your self-esteem, good for your confidence, you're going to experience. But when we're in the comfort zone and other people tell us what to do, sometimes that's okay and good. But when we feel like, I don't really want to do that, but I'm just traveling that path of least resistance because I haven't set boundaries, I'm going to find myself being disempowered. I'm going to find myself becoming less confident. I'm going to find myself becoming more insecure because I am not owning the things that God has called me to do. And the result of that is stress. Okay, so we learn to create boundaries. Let's talk about boundaries for a moment. We learn to create boundaries by saying no. Okay, you're a finite human being, just like Paul is. So again, when Paul says I can do all things, well, he can't do everything, can he? He's a finite human being. He's not God, neither are you, neither am I. And so I can do all the things that I've been graced to do in my grace zone. And so if I say yes to everything, or if I simply allow everybody else to say yes on my behalf, well, I'm not going to have space or room or energy to do the things that I'm supposed to do. So we have to learn how to create boundaries, and you do that by saying no. Now, you will need to say no to people. That's pretty important. But the most important person that you say no to is yourself. So there's a principle, and you'll read about this in Genesis and throughout the scripture, called the Sabbath. And God says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to be stressed for 6 days a week. I want you to do things that are engaging. I want you to do things that require responsibility. I want you to engage with your purpose and your calling and your work for 6 days. And then on the 7th day, I want you to say no to all of that stuff. And you're going to find by default that you want to work that seventh day, or you want to allow engaging things to enter into that seventh day. I found last Sabbath for us, we practiced Sabbath from Friday evening through to Saturday, and that's where we take our one day where we rest, and it's a practice. It's something we are practicing. We don't always do it perfectly. And last Saturday, I was just cleaning the windows, and I was just like, why am I cleaning the windows? And I was just like, what is wrong with me? Why? I don't clean windows very often. So I was just like, dude, and I realized, I need to say no to myself. I am trying to keep that work brain alive because I am actually built for stress and I enjoy it. But God says, no, I want you to stop one day a week and create a boundary where you say no to work. It's the fourth commandment in the 10 commandments. And if you think that sounds Old Testament, well, coming after the fourth commandment, honor the Sabbath, practice the Sabbath, is don't murder, don't steal, don't commit adultery. I've got a feeling those are commandments that are just principles that carry through, just full stop, through life. And so God says, I want you to honor the Sabbath. Why? Because you need to learn to create boundaries for your soul, that you would rest, and so that you would not be stressed. When you work 7 days a week, when you push the boundaries, there are studies done. The more and more you work, you start to experience diminishing returns. And so God says, don't do that. I want you to engage with your purpose, engage with your work, but one day a week, you need to learn to say no. I can tell you, if you don't practice the Sabbath, you're going to find it hard to create boundaries in your life. Because why would anyone else respect your boundaries when you don't set them for yourself? Why would others look and say, well, that's a person who's really in a healthy place, when you are addicted to work, where you are addicted to purpose, and you're not willing to submit yourself to God to say, I will stop because I'm not God, but He is. And so I submit myself by practicing the Sabbath every single week. So the first person we're going to say no to is ourselves. That's by practicing the Sabbath. And of course, denying the flesh and all of those things. And that's why we don't end up in the comfort zone, but we end up in the grace zone of God. And so, of course, secondly, is going to be other people. We're going to stop being a people pleaser. And that's the path of least resistance. That's our comfort zone. And I can guarantee you this, if you were to examine the things that cause you the most stress in your life, there would be some good stresses, your responsibilities and so on. I don't think you should get rid of those. But there would be some stresses that would almost certainly be related to people taking advantage of your time, taking advantage of your energy, the way that they treat you. And here's what we need to understand. Even if all of that is not good and not right, how that's happening, we are the ones who are responsible for creating the boundaries of our life. And this is a really important lesson, particularly in just today's culture, where we have a generation who are rising up, who are not familiar with this concept. And so they've been told, control everything out there. But you can never control everything out there. You can never fix all of the problems. And so when someone disagrees with us, it's an offense. It's a big problem. Cancel culture and all these sorts of things that are taking place that are training us to think, hey, the problem's out there. But I'm telling us today, as Christians, no matter what is happening out there that is not right and not okay, we need to be people who learn how to create boundaries of our life so that we would gain self-control. And we, just like Paul, would be able to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I'm going to land on just this final thought about stress.